This is a story about you and me.
Our parents, our friends, our grandparents,
our cousins,
Our padrinos, our brothers, our
sisters, our past,
our present,
our future. This is a Mexican family story.
Emerguildo Marquis was a boy without a country, a ghost in the margins of history, a name lost in the bureaucratic handwriting of war, a Mexican orphan who stowed away with the Pennsylvania Volunteers after the Mexican-American War. He ended up in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, raised by a war hero, and later buried beside that hero's family. His story is one of movement across borders, across battlefields, and through the ranks of two American wars. His name, like his past, was a mutable thing. Emerguildo, scrawled in the muster rolls of the 6th Pennsylvania Infantry, Emerguildo Marquis in family accounts, and finally, Emerguildo Marquis, the name etched into history. I also have the opinion that his last name may have been Marquez, but can't confirm it. In my research, I found a baptism record matching his name and birth year in the Cuauhtemoc municipality of Mexico City. The name, date, and location match, and if this was the same person, then his full name was Tiburcio Valeriano Emerguildo Marquez Gonzalez, son of Luis Marquez and Jacinta Gonzalez, and baptized on April 14, 1836. Emerguildo was 9, maybe 10, when the Mexican-American War ended in 1848. 3 boys, shoeless and dark-skinned, were found trailing the American soldiers as they departed Mexico City. They had no home, no family, only the troops they had come to idolize. 3 officers took them in, and for young Emerguildo, that man was Captain James Nagle. Nagle was a wallpaper hanger and a house painter before the war turned him into a leader of men. A Pennsylvania native, he had drilled the local militia into shape before leading them into Mexico. He fought at Cerro Gordo, Puebla, Huamantla, places that would fade into memory as America turned its attention to a new war. When he came home, he brought with him not just battle scars and stories, but a boy. A boy who spoke Spanish, who had no family, who learned to be an American by way of Pennsylvania coal country. Nagle raised Emerguildo as his own, sent him to school, taught him a trade, but war has a way of calling back its own. In the spring of 1861, as the first shots rang out at Fort Sumter, James Nagle was ready. He raised the 6th Pennsylvania Infantry, a 3-month regiment that would soon be part of General Robert Patterson's operations in the Shenandoah Valley. Among the men in Company G, a familiar face, Emerguildo, now a private, his name half misspelled, but his loyalty firm. His time with the infantry was brief, but it wasn't the end. When the 6th Pennsylvania disbanded, he joined the 3rd Pennsylvania Cavalry as a bugler. War was a machine, grinding through men and time, and sound was its heartbeat. The bugler signaled charges, retreats, the eerie moments between. Emerguildo wasn't just a soldier. He was the voice of the battlefield. James Nagle, by now a brigadier general, hadn't forgotten the boy he had brought home all those years ago. On December 22, 1862, he wrote to the military brass, making a formal request. I have the honor to make application to have Emerguildo Marquis, bugler in Captain White's company, 3rd Pennsylvania Cavalry, detailed as bugler and orderly for these headquarters. He is a Mexican boy that I brought along from Mexico. He was with me in the 3-month service. After that, he enlisted in the cavalry, and he is now desirous of joining me in some capacity. It was more than an administrative request. It was a reunion. A boy from Mexico, brought into a family by war, finding his way back to the man who had given him a home. The request was granted. For a time, Emerguildo was part of Nagle's staff, sounding the calls for the general who had once taught him how to be American. War, like all things, came to an end. On August 24, 1864, Emerguildo was discharged from service, his 3-year term with the cavalry complete. By then he was 26, barely 5 feet tall, dark complexion, black eyes, black hair. His occupation? Painter, just like James Nagle. But a man without roots can struggle to hold on to the ground beneath him. There is little recorded of Emerguildo's life after the war. What is known is that he died in 1880, far too young at just 42. The cause remains a mystery, but his final resting place speaks volumes. Buried with the Nagle family, not as an outsider, not as a relic of war, but as one of their own. General Nagle's youngest daughter, Kate, wrote the following account about her experience welcoming her father back from his service in the Mexican-American War. It was a long, sad time for folks at home, but great rejoicing when word came that the war was over and the army was waiting for orders to move. And greater was the joy when a telegram came saying, "Come to Philadelphia with the children to meet us." A number of the wives of the soldiers went to Philadelphia to meet their husbands. When they met them, they saw 3 persons who were not soldiers, but little Mexican boys about 9 or 10 years of age. They were very small, dark skin, no shoes. They learned to love the soldiers, and when they broke camp, the little boys followed them, stole their way, so to speak. When they were discovered, the army was miles out of the city of Mexico. They would not go back. They were little orphans, and the officers took charge of them and landed them at home in Pottsville. Captain James Nagle, Lieutenant Simon Nagle, and Lieutenant Frank B. Kirscher each took a little Mexican boy to their homes. The one Captain Nagle cared for was, by name, Emerguildo Marquis, known as Miriam. He was treated as one of the family. He was sent to school, sent to learn a trade, jeweler. He was away from home to work, but never forgot the family. He came home very often over the weekends. He lived to be about 45, grew up with a family. He loved Father and Mother Nagle, and the children all loved him. He died at the Nagle home about the year 1877. History often forgets men like Emerguildo Marquis. He left no speeches, no memoirs, no legacy other than the quiet proof of his existence, scattered across military records and family anecdotes, but in the echoes of war, in the faded ink of muster rolls, in the Pennsylvania soil where he rests, his story still lingers.